Time to stop the chaos.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Time to stop the chaos now.
Dump-a-dump-a-dump-a-dump-dump.
On Fundraising Heyday, we talk a lot about how grant seeking gets more complex every year. Make 2023 the year you finally get a system to track grant deadlines and information.
It's time to stop the chaos with Grant Holster. It was developed for grant professionals by grant professionals, which makes all the difference.
First month is always free. And Grant Holster is giving our listeners a 25% discount on the entire first year of your subscription. Just enter Heyday, all one word, HAYDAY, as your coupon at checkout, and you'll get that amazing discount.
And they have a hands-on demo at grantholster.com that lets you explore the platform on your own. But if you want someone to walk you through it, they also have folks that can do that.
So if you've been struggling with spreadsheets, clunky applications with a million workarounds, or just keeping your deadlines on sticky notes, head over to grantholster.com and take a look.
And remember to enter the coupon code HEYDAY at checkout to get your 25% discount for a full year.
And stop the chaos.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, hello there. I'm Kimberly Muga.
And I'm Amanda Day.
And you're listening to
Season 6 of the Fundraising Heyday podcast.
We're here to help you make sense of the complex world of grant writing and fundraising, including the how-tos, right? But also how to work together to change philanthropy for the better.
And if you're wondering, she is still poking that philanthropy bear. We're doing this every 2 weeks. And of course, episodes continue to come with cheesy side effects and songs because learning doesn't have to be boring.
It really shouldn't be.
Nope.
This podcast is brought to you by our Season 6 sponsor, D.H. Leonard Consulting and Grant Writing Services. Their team can help make grants less stressful by assisting you with grant readiness and training, grant research, grant writing, mock review, as well as providing numerous DIY resources, guides, and templates. Don't let grants stress you out. Did you know that with every Fundraising Heyday episode, we create a coordinating blog post on their website, dhleonardconsulting.com. Check it out today.
So welcome back to the show, or if you're a first-time listener, thanks so much to tuning in to the second episode of Season 6. We're celebrating our 100th episode and our 5 fun-filled years. I just can't get my words out. I'm so excited.
She's so excited. She temporarily lost the ability to speak. But she's super well accessorized. If you're not watching this on YouTube, just know that she looks really cute.
Well, thanks. I'll try. But anyway, 100th episode is coming up next. 5 years will be celebrated in November. So we're excited about all of that. And if you like what you're hearing, there's certainly plenty more of where this comes from.
We're super grateful for your support. Stay tuned for some new things that Amanda and I are rolling out in the year of our podcast, Lord 2023. And we'd love it if you could tell a friend about the podcast. It just helps build the community. If you like what you hear, chances are your friends and colleagues will like it too.
There you go. So Kimberly and I have been working together on the podcast and other things since 2018, although we've known each other for longer than that. So I would say we're experts in partnerships and podcasts. Can we claim that now?
Yeah, man, own it.
That.
Absolutely.
But Kimberly's got a partnership topic that has been burning a hole in her pocket. Okay, sounds a little painful, I know. But seriously, we're here today to discuss how grant writers can best partner to land large-scale, complex grant projects. So if you've been a grant professional, even for a little while, you realize that most traditional roles are either as an employee or a consultant, or maybe you're a consultant who subcontracts with a larger firm, right? So, and nothing is wrong with any of those roles. But that's kind of the bucket. So employ your own contractor or you're a subcontractor. That's about.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with
I've done
any of
all
that.
3 of those things.
I think I have too.
Yeah.
But a temporary sort of grant writing partnership versus employee or subcontracting role, or just going it your own as a contractor, can be an excellent solution for monster grants if the timing is right and the
Mhm.
project is right. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know I have a tendency to want to go my own way.
Shocking. Alert the presses. Kimberly's doing something rogue. It happens.
It happens.
That's why we love her.
Thanks. But I know it's shocking, right? But actually, what I'm suggesting with this topic is it's not anything new. I was the first person to do it, but I think it was new to me, and it just made me think about something that could come in handy for a lot of people, I guess. And so to sort of back it up, I strive for a non-stressful consulting practice. That doesn't mean I'm not up for a challenge, but it means that I'm not a fan for the, sure, I'll take it on. I'll just stay up all night, all week, and it'll be great. It's
Great.
Yeah, no, that's not where I want to be. But every once in a while, there's some large scale projects where I'm like, ooh, I would be really good at helping with that. It's like maybe it's in my wheelhouse of health and human services or some parts of higher ed, and it's it's a transformative.
Big and meaty.
You could argue that it's an ego thrill of working on a big grant project, and I would say that's a part of it. I'm not going to say no.
Nothing wrong with that.
But in this particular case, I got an email from a very trusted colleague, someone that I've known for years. I've done a little bit of work for her in the past, but really we just met sort of socially through the Grant Professionals Association, through meetings and other things, and we share a love of reading. We're in a book club together, et cetera, et cetera. So she sends me this email about this grant that had a 6-week timeline, so tick-tock, and it was all about, it was for the kinds of grants that I write, and mainly I come from a more private than public funding seeking.
Yeah.
So this particular grant was a $25 million opportunity. So in my world, that's really big. I totally get if you write DOT grants and Department of Energy grants, that could just be Tuesday afternoon. But it was a big
I'd still say I've written a lot of federal grants, but $25 million, that's a big grant.
It's chunky. And it wasn't a federal grant, but it had the complexity of a federal grant. There were lots of moving parts. There was a core partnership of maybe 8 to 10 people, or agencies, but there were like maybe 40 involved all the way around. There were multiple evaluators, and it was just that sort of weird grant octopus thing that was really giving me some life. So, but we talked about it because we knew each other. It was we're talking through, because she felt like me. She's like, I don't have the time to do this by myself, but if you were to work with me, if we were to work together, we could push it through and get it done, because it's not our first rodeo and we've dealt with this. She also has an extensive background in like running nonprofits that were touching some of these areas. So it was all in all a good fit, but we were sort of approaching it as a we'll divide and conquer versus I want to hire you to write this grant and then I'll give you edits. So it was a very different experience. And we also knew that it was going to be a lot of program design coming up into that. And so we we took an hour or two to talk through the whatever you call it, the OFA, the NOFA, the RFP, the instruction manual for the grant, which was extensive.
The guidelines.
And then we also did kind of a SWOT analysis of ourselves in terms of what skills do we bring. We're both really good grant writers, right? We both got experience. We both had success. But there were other pieces to this. And so it was kind of like, what are the things that she was super good at that I can do, but it's not like a big strength area of mine.
Well, I mean, that's fair, because I think about grant proposals. Can I put together a budget? Of course I can. If I had someone that loved budgets and was a rock star at them and they wanted to do it, I'd be like, you go for it. I'm happy to not do the budget. Instead, I can spend my time over here working on the narrative or whatever, right?
It was kind of like that.
Yeah. So that's a good thing.
And it's kind of maybe like that for us, but in different areas. We sort of did our own little SWOT analysis.
We did. When Kimberly and I we met at TED's.
But not when we first met.
No. When we first talked about the podcast.
Right.
We started off at TED's.
Yeah, TED's Montana Grill, now defunct. It was in downtown Decatur.
Yes.
Lovely kale salad. And
yes.
With a with the fries.
Onion rings.
Oh, Lord. And those pickles. But we digress.
Yes. And that clearly we meet a lot of our food because we did a lot of our planning at the Chili's, I believe, near.
That was because you were teaching there.
I was teaching there, and it was not far from you.
So if you love Chili's, but I live in a big city where that is not the only option.
No, but Chili's was right by where I was teaching. So
big table, super nice wait staff.
Yes. So we did a lot of informal, like when we started talking about the podcast, it was like, well, what do we need to do to make this work? And what do we like to do? Or what do we already know how to do? Or what are we willing to learn? And that's pretty much how we've still been rolling. It's kind of like, hey, we want to take this on. Well, who's
going to do it, or do we need to outsource it?
Absolutely. And so the way we've kind of divided and conquered when it comes to the podcast, Kimberly offered to take on kind of the business setup, so she's gotten our
account set up, setting up like our LLCs, our bank accounts, our business accounts, our recurring costs.
All the things, all the platforms that we need, she's signed up and got us regularly squared away for that.
Yep.
When it comes to kind of the marketing social media side of things, that's me. So when
it's me.
So, and and part of that, it wasn't that I was like, ooh, I know how to do this. It was more like I wanted to learn how to do it.
You wanted to learn.
And I found a few people who did it well and was like, hey, can you spend some time showing me? And in fact, I even worked for a friend of mine I know through church, has a digital marketing company, and she needed someone to help just a few hours a month with some social media posting stuff. And as soon as she posted it, I called her and I'm like, I want to work for you. And she's like, you realize I pay peanuts compared to what you get paid as a grant professional. Cause she's like, it's,
but you're getting paid to learn.
That's why I told her, I'm like, I'll take your money. Cause heck, why not? I said, but honestly, I'm not going to work for you forever. It's probably going to be a year or so, but I said, I want to learn some stuff from your company. And so that's
so you did, and I did do like the invoicing.
Yep. All things financial.
But
Kimberly is willing to do.
And I was like, who is this person? But I dig it.
She's good.
I want to see stuff in, and I want to see I want to see the invoices out, the money in. I want to see all that stuff, and it worked out. And then
we split the writing of our scripts, our blog posts that we do. We just split everything down the halfsies because that's that's the creative content stuff that we both. That's why we're here. So we split up those duties definitely. And when it comes to ideas too, I think we split. We
split them.
Ideas, whether it's for a podcast, whether it's, hey, it's season 6, let's move to YouTube. That's all Kimberly. And I was like, I love it.
Let's do choice that we'll see. But actually, I'm loving the pod spa.
The pod spa.
We're in we're under the eaves in Amanda's house in a former gaming room. That's now the pod spa. No to the succulents and the calming candles and the soft lighting.
I have big plans for this room now that we're realizing it works for us.
It's nice.
It is. It works. But
it's cozy.
But that's, I think, going back to the point of the actual episode here today.
What? Why would we? What?
Let's bring it full circle. But you think about, there have been times when maybe not even just a project, but maybe a client has come my way that maybe I could take them on in 6 months, but I can't right now. Usually what ends up happening is I pass them on to somebody else who's going to be good. And that client's gone because I have never wanted to take on employees or even subcontractors because I just don't want the responsibility of like, what if some weeks I don't have work? And I hate, so I know you don't have to guarantee your subcontractors work depending on how you're set up. But my fear is always if I take something on and all my subcontractors are busy.
You don't want to manage.
I don't want to manage. I don't have to figure that out. So I have always just been a one-person show in that regard when I've worked for myself. So this really is a great idea of going to somebody else and trust, saying, hey, this is too good of an opportunity to pass up,
or I can't do it. I know I can bring things to the table, but I need some
time. I need some help.
Need some help. And I keep coming back to, it was peer-to-peer. Mm-hmm. And that's not this, and again, that doesn't negate other ways of doing things.
No.
But we did the same thing with that mini SWOT analysis. She can can develop a work plan like nobody's business,
Yeah.
right? And I do my little work plan. Do I like it? No. Am I fast at it? Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But there's and logic models and budgets. Can I put together a logic model? Yep. Can I teach you how to put together a logic model? Well, not Amanda, because she already knows. Sure. But, and do I find it useful? Uh-huh. But she's like, oh yeah, I've got this. And I'm like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Anybody wants to run a logic model, I will let you.
And this was, it was less than 2 months. And everyone had the same deadline. It was invited to apply, but it was highly competitive, small group of people. There was more than one $25 million grant, but it was tight. It was tight for everyone. No one was mismanaging their time. That is just how the funder rolled out the deadline. And there were multiple planning meetings, drafts and revisions, multiple documents that got changed in the middle because this was a brand new process.
I'm sure.
The proposal ended up being about 100 pages. Of course, that wasn't all narrative. And there were 40 letters of support. Your girl said...
You said 40.
Yeah. Your girl here said, oh, yeah, man, I can write letters of support. I can do it all day, which... I can, but I didn't realize I was actually literally going to be doing those letters all day, because I like to write letters. Well, they're 40, and that's including letters of support and letters of commitment. Let's be real. But still, it's a heap and helping of. I mean, it's just like, each one needs to be slightly different.
Yeah.
And it involved, looking up, and there were from local representatives and city council people and county people. And so, it was research and looking in and making sure they were individual. And if you haven't done it at that level before, you don't understand why they have to be individual, because one reviewer or a team of reviewers will each look at those. And if they're all the exact same,
they know that one person wrote them and just asked for signatures. That's not as impressive as, these came from the heart.
Or they came from
40 different people.
Looking at, this particular council person really supports clean air. So let's make sure that we talk about their relation to this ship project is around clean air or environmental stuff or whatever. And there are just way too many other attachments. I've just blocked a lot of it. There were graphs, and we were working with some very talented people at the sort of host agency that was submitting the grant on behalf of all of these partners, and they played a huge role. None of them had written a big grant before, I don't think, but they had managed other huge projects and had brought a lot of skills to the table. But it was just, so we ended up securing that with them, and I got the extreme gratification of knowing that after all those long hours and hard work, it was like 10 o'clock, it was like working every night, normal day, but going until 9 or 10 o'clock at night for about a couple of weeks as we were wrapping it up, because there were just some things that could not, we had to help them develop the program and write about it at the same time. Right. But then in the end, they did get the grant, and it was real competitive. And they got I was pretty sure they were going to get it. And they also had to do a site presentation, but to know that they got in, to know the role that we played, and also to know that it was over.
Yeah.
Our part was over, because we're not managing the grant. We're just writing the grant. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
But seriously though, I know I'm being silly about this, but I'm like, wow, that's a big chunk of money. This is a sound evidence-based program. They have a plan. This could help a lot of people in a region that doesn't often get a lot of money and gets overlooked. So it's just a feel good all the way around.
Yeah. Well, I know it was thrilling to get the grant award, because everybody loves, and to be able to say I was part of a $25 million proposal, which I'm not saying that dollar amounts. I get super excited about. I got a $50,000 award for a client. For that client, that is a heck of a lot of money, and we are over the moon.
It is not always about the amount, and it depends on the client.
It does, and the project and the fund. It depends on a million things. But to be able to say I was part of it, that's something good. So
it took me over the $100 million career mark. So
that's awesome. So would you do it again? And I ask.
I know why you're asking.
I asked because obviously Kimberly and I talk to each other regularly. We try to stay planned with all the stuff we do. And so obviously, in addition to planning, we'll talk about what's going on with our lives. So during these 6 weeks, I would get the continual updates of what's going on. And I know that even though you're like, yes, everybody was involved, which is a good thing, it doesn't matter how great everybody is. When you have that many moving parts, you have a grant that size, things are going to go wrong. People are not going to submit things when they say they are, which means you're having to stay up later to get things done later. And so it's just a lot going on. And so suddenly small things like support letters, which you're like, oh, that'll be easy, takes
also
a
pro
week.
tip, negotiate the amount of letters into your contract. I'm just saying that.
Yes.
Put some parameters around, and then there are contingency fees for going over that. Smart. Just a note, and you may be listening to this going, everybody does that. I'm like, good for you. But
there are things you don't think about until you start. I mean, there's lots of things I didn't think about the first time I did a particular grant.
But and this was, I mean, it certainly wasn't my first rodeo, but there were a lot of collaborating partners, and I think that was the strength of the grant. I think that's what made them so competitive. And
that was a good thing.
And the presentation of it all, it was like all these agencies have come together to put this forward. I mean, but it did, and they were right to want these things.
Yeah.
And I was right to do those things. But the sheer volume, I was not prepared for.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. And my peer partner wasn't either. I was like, oh, I'll write those. And then later, and even one of the meetings, I'm like, yeah, I'll be cranking out those letters that I volunteered to take on. And everybody kind of laughed. And I was just like, yeah, it's a lot, y'all. But anyway.
Well, and one of the lessons learned too, I think you were telling me before, is like you feel like you didn't ask for enough money.
Oh, because of those kinds
once you realized how many hours it physically took.
15 letters versus 40, you do the math.
Yeah.
And they're individual. And you could, it was what it was. And we certainly didn't, no one's losing the farm. It was great. And it was a great experience. But you're never too old or experienced to learn. And 40 letters later, I'm like, let's talk about how many letters we think we might need and just build that. It's just learning. It's learning as you go. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Pro tip.
So would you do it again?
Yes. Under the right circumstances.
Yeah.
For the right circumstances and with the right partner and that same understanding. I would work with this Grant Pro again in a heartbeat. In fact, we're doing a GPA webinar that may be getting ready to go live by the time this comes out in early 2023. So it's not going to be a secret. And we'll talk more about some of those lessons learned. Like, let's establish the number of attachments and think about the time and stuff like that. I would totally do that with her again. I'm hoping she would do it again with me. She is co-presenting the webinar, so that could be a good thing.
Well, and you would definitely partner with somebody on projects. I mean, even if it's not of that scale, but the idea. Well, yes, but the idea of partnering.
As an introverted as I am, and I am, I love a good, deep working partnership because we complement each other, and it's those kinds of working relationships are deeply satisfying to me because I just feel like you can get more done if we're duetting as keynote speakers. I feel like it's even more of an immersive experience for the audience because there are two of us up there. We're bringing different views. We're contrasting our plaids. If you can't see, if you're listening, we've got a plaid theme going on that we're working, but also it was, yes, I can take this on with the right working partner and do this thing because I know I have the chops and I know she has the chops to make it happen for this organization. And again, big old project, tons of moving parts, super tight deadline that was given to everybody, and an organization that was recognized they needed to commit those funds to. And you could make the argument that a large consulting, firm could take that on, and they could have, but I feel like we were the right people at the right time for that job. And I would do it again in a heartbeat with that level of pre-planning and that understanding and my ability now to, I was always a fast writer, but holy crap, I can write you a letter like that. I'm just saying. But, yeah, it's fun. But it's also fun because I do enjoy working alone on a lot of projects. I just do. That's just me. It's just a lot of fun for me to know that I can work in a small team. I can subcontract if I need to. I can tackle projects on my own. It's just that variety that I crave.
Yeah. Well, and I would say for someone like me who is very extroverted and works from home alone, which was a bit of a transition to go from an office where I had, several people that, even though I was the only grant person, I got to know and built lots of relationships, as you can imagine, with my coworkers, that always had people that I could go to lunch with, or if I needed a 5-minute or break, or just needed something that I could go and go, I know you don't get this, but oh my gosh, this just happened in the grant world, and nice friends that would listen and nod their heads at appropriate times and say, I'm sorry that happened to you, right? To go from that to working from home where you don't have that, right?
And that's really important to you.
It is. And so having, whether it's somebody I'm working with on a grant project or a podcast, but having something so you've got somebody that you can have regular meetings with, or that you can occasionally, I often will text and be like, I need to talk to somebody. When you have time, call me.
I love it when she texts me because, I live in Snarky Town, and I love it when Amanda visits Snarky Town.
You're hilarious. I was trying to find, because I cannot remember the gentleman's name off the top of my head.
So she's looking things up, y'all. She's not ignoring us, and she's getting ready to contribute something lovely and meaningful to the discussion.
Well, I was just trying to think. There's a grant professional. There she is. Ashley Kane, that she has her own consulting business, but she partners with a gentleman, and I don't know, I know him. His name is escaping me, but sorry, you know who you are if you're listening. The two of them often partner and have written several grant books together, and they, I think, sometimes tackle larger. Yes, you have done that with several grant professionals. Wrote a book together.
There were 4 of us, and we co-wrote a book, and it was finite, and we divided things up, and it was. It's still out now. It's it's on our website. It's about preparing for the GPC exam. But the point being that there were a lot of strengths and areas, and you could divide it up. And so writing a book wasn't like writing a book. Who has time? And it's like meh when you're dividing it up. I'm actually working on another one with another grant pro now. We're dividing and conquering. And exploring the world of grant ethics.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be coming out in 2023, but it's dividing and conquering. It's a finite project.
It is.
With someone that I've worked with and written a book with before. And we're just dividing and moving forward in a way that's deeply satisfying.
Yeah. Well, and I think, growing up, I was the kid, as much as I am an extrovert, I hated group projects in school. The reason being is I'm the type A, overachieving, want to get that A+ grade, and you'd be put with whoever you got put with. And some people just didn't care, or they'd be happy with the B, or they were busy because they also did X, Y, and Z, whatever the reason, right? And so that meant I'm picking up the slack because I'm going to get the A, right? That was me.
It's true.
It's me. So going into the workplace, I thought I would hate them too. And it really just depends who I'm working with, right? Because if it's somebody who does put equal weight in and is willing, like if they say, hey, sure, I'll do X, Y, and Z and I'll get it to you by this date, and they actually make that happen, those are the people I love to work with, And
if you're just working with 1 or 2 other people, it's different than if you have
6.
If there's 6 people, somebody's going to be the slacker.
Yes.
And it's not going to be you.
Yes. So, but all I have to say is, if you find the right person to do some things with, I think it is a beautiful thing. And I think, too, to learn that you don't have to do everything together, right? Kimberly and I do the podcast together. We do some training together. But she's written some book with some other people. She didn't have to do everything with me because there are things I'm not going to want to do, or that's not my skill set. And after a while, you get tired of me if I wouldn't let you work with anybody else.
Not true, but I feel you. But it's variety.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with if just because you work with somebody doesn't mean great, I'm gonna have to call them every time.
Also, Amanda, truth be told, you learn in different ways about the field of grant writing and related business things in ways different than reading books about it, right?
Yes.
I mean, this is no, no shade. This is this is what it is.
Yes.
And so why would you want to write a book? Amanda and I we still do this presentation of Grant Ethics Bingo. So it's like we're playing bingo with our participants and talking about grant ethics, and it's great and fun. So, yeah. Same topic, different treatment.
There you go. So, but all that to say, yes, you can, it's not just, I think the whole reason we wanted to do this episode was to talk about if you are, a one-person shop, there are opportunities still to partner and work with other folks, and it can be for different things and different people for a variety of different reasons.
That's true. That, or if you are just starting to think about making
that leap,
making a leap, or maybe you have some other financial goals and you'd like to do some work on the side, as long as it is ethically possible in your workplace, and that we have podcast episodes about that. But I'm just saying, if it's a good fit and you want to explore that, maybe that's a way to explore it, is to say, I'll do this and you do that. And it's also very important, and I didn't talk about this earlier, but I'll be talking about this in the webinar that I do with my peer partner, is get the money thing, talk about it. And if it's too awkward and uncomfortable to talk about for some reason, that's probably not the right partnership to have.
Yeah.
So you want to, I didn't mention that earlier, but it bears
mentioning. Absolutely.
And it may be that if it's a peer-to-peer temporary partnership, that one person takes the lead with the agency, so they're not getting the two invoices, and y'all just need to work out your finances before you do that and work out your pricing.
Yeah. And that part of that is picking people that you trust, and, but still having those conversations are important.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
It's another episode. It's peer partnering. It's all the good things. And Amanda and I will be peer partnering for quite a while to come.
That's the plan.
So we will see you soon, or you can find us on YouTube, or you can listen to us wherever you usually do. We are just around, and we are happy to be continuing this partner journey together.
There you go.
Bye.
Thank you again to our Season 6 sponsor, D.H. Leonard Consulting and Grant Writing Services. We appreciate their support in making grants less stressful. Visit their website, dhleonardconsulting.com, to download their latest resources today.
I am so glad that you chose to listen to the Fundraising Heyday podcast. Please, if you could follow us on Apple Podcasts and leave a review, that would be fantastic. That's how people find us, and that's what it's all about. Just making more friends, reaching more people. You may find us on Spotify, and that's fine. Send a link to a friend. Just, if you can't get enough of that heyday stuff.
Can't get enough of the heyday stuff. I like how that sounds.
We got a website.
We do.
Heydayservices.com, HAYDAY services.com. You can sign up for our newsletter and hear all about it.
There we are. So we're so honored you chose to spend time with us today. Please be sure to join us for our next episode in 2 weeks, because remember, it's episode 100. Woo-hoo! So I'm sure there'll be all sorts of fireworks and sparkle and glitter, and I don't know. Actually, we're talking about evaluation, so
it's going to be super sassy. Woo! Actually, it will be fun.
Yes. So we'll see you then.
Bye.